Scanning for audio. Scanning for audio.
Morning. Welcome to a Tin Dog podcast. This time I'm going to be talking about the Dimension Canon, Volume 3. So it's obviously called Rose Tyler Dimension Canon. This is the series set while just before Rose is trying to find the Doctor. It's supposed to be leading up to the Turn Left storyline. We get all this. Which is why, at the time when it came out, I was kind of, a bit reticent, thinking, what's the point? We know where this goes. We always know where it goes. It's Doctor Who. It's really not a problem. Will she find the Doctor? Well, yes, she will. So, that's fine. This series is set then. Normally, it's got Rose Tyler, it's got Jackie, it's got a couple of other people who have appeared elsewhere. But at the end of the last series, Series 2, Rose was thrown off course on her return trip. Everybody else got home. But in this one, she's stranded, which is basically trapped, not stranded. We've had Stranded as a 8th Doctor series. She's trapped and she is unable to get home. That's a bit bright. Right, okay. It's 3 stories. But they're all set in the same trapped alternate Earth. So here we go. After a disastrous dimension jump, Rose is trapped in a strange and dangerous reality. Rose's mission to save the multiverse, but first she must save herself. There's Sink or Swim, Lizzie Hopley, The Lower Road by Tim Foley, and The Good Samaritan by Helen Goldwyn. All of these people have produced great scripts for Big Finish in the past, and they did set up a sort of writer's room kind of thing where they would all bring their own stories and they would all be allocated stuff, but all of this is in the extras. Sink or Swim is, as you know, I like to avoid spoilers, so here we go. Rose is trapped and alone, at sea in an unfamiliar world, where strange entropy eats away at those struggling to survive, but she finds family, hope, as she starts her quest to escape. She's on a liner, which has got some survivors on it. And you know what? It made me think that if you were bringing the prisoner back, you could set it on a boat. Because my head's been full of prisoner nonsense for far too long. It's great. It's really nice. And you get to meet other characters and one character who will be with Rose for entire series. Really genuinely atmospheric, nicely structured, and you believe the locations without question at all. Stuff just happens on board this ship, and the world gradually becomes more and more alien to you as the listener. Beautifully done. Beautifully done. All of the new characters are there, and who you're going to trust. It does have the feeling of a survivor's story, but the beauty of the survivor's stories were, of course, that there were no monsters. The only monsters in the survivor's stories are the human race and our decisions and our choices. Here we've got something that feels a bit post-apocalyptic, but it's a lot more Doctor Who-y. There's monsters, there's giant, let's not go there, but there are monsters. Admittedly, as always, the truly alien and awful people are of course human. Story 2, The Lower Road, Tim Foley. Now, There is an issue with a middle story because you've got your beginning, your middle and your end, and your middles can prove tricky. So in order to make the middle not tricky, you have to turn that into a beginning and a middle and end in itself. Give it its own identity, give it its own world and its own emotional arcs. Tim is always very good at this. Trekking the wastelands, Rose and Danni discover a community that seems to have made peace with the anti-life. But all groups have their secrets and bargains come at a price. Now, Danni is this character who introduced themselves as there. And Rose instantly gets that right all the way through. It's very nicely done. It's not, that person's not that person isn't male, female. They prefer there. And Rose just goes with it. Few other characters refer to this person as she in passing, but that's because that's what strangers do. It's very nicely done. And a lot of people online have pointed this out and gone, hey, this is great, which it is. The thing that got to me was that in story 1 and story 2, Rose refers to her dimension canon as a dimension canon. The disc, the travel disc. Story 3, she only calls it that at the very end. She's calling it travel disc. And that tiny thing just made me go, oh. I like the interchangeable thing's great because some people go phone, some people say, you know what I mean? In real life, people do change the names of things. But it just felt like, and these stories were written by these two people, and this one was written by this person, and that one thing. But you know what? If that's the only thing annoying me, I just need to shut up. Because it's a cracking box set. It's genuinely very nice. Some lovely stuff going on. The business with the two towers does have a whole happiness patrol feel to it. And who's in the right? There's a whole moral argument. There's a lot of moral arguments going on in the Rose box sets, and to be honest, that's what we're here for. Billie Piper's performance was always good, was always much better than you expected it to be. And let's face it, we were there in 2004 going, really? Okay, well, somebody must know what they're doing. And then we saw the series and they did know what they were doing. The last story, The Good Samaritan by Helen Goldwyn. Let's read the synopsis and then I'll talk about it. It's very good, Helen, don't worry. Trying to repair her dimension canon, Rose seeks out the last haven of technology on Earth, but the utopia of the Dome hides a separate situation. A storm of anti-life is closing in. Obviously, finding out what the anti-life is could have been a larger part of this story for me, and it's called The Good Samaritan because of the societal structure that they've gone into, but there's so much to cover, so much ground to fill in, where we're finding out who the anti-life are, what they actually want, who the psychics are, what the connection between the whole thing is, and the world of the Dome. Something's got to give. And because it's still called The Good Samaritan, you're kind of sat there going, oh yeah, it's called that for that reason. But there was so much other stuff that needed to be dealt with that the society itself did feel like it was suffering, which would have been fine, but the actual story is called The Good Samaritan, which is how the society works. Perhaps a different name. And then going back, because Helen's always got some cracking concepts that she puts at the core. The holographic people being altered by society in order to give different news messages was one that was used as a jumping on point for earlier stories, that kind of thing. You see, I do remember these things. In saying that, you've got, obviously, a universe, a world that's been changed. Now, normally, the Doctor gives some sort of techno-babbly explanation. There isn't a character around to do that, so you have to buy into what's being said by the other characters around and then more work it out for yourself. And let's face it, as Hitchcock said, they'd rather be confused as an audience than bored. And confused is fine, because you're still sitting there going, is that... Oh, yeah, I get it now. Yeah, and it will come to you, and that's fine. So, a great box set. I think I'd like some more Clive next time, and I do want there to be another box set. But of course, we're moving further and further towards the end. So this does have a finite space. I wouldn't be surprised if box set 4 was the end. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if this was also the end, because it also makes a lot of sense. I'll play you the trailer and decide for yourself. if you've enjoyed the others, you will definitely enjoy this one. And if it's ever in the sale and you've thought, perhaps I'll give it a go, yes, please do, because it's so much better than you think it will be. And is that damning with faint praise? I just don't know. But it's not a box set that a lot of people will be jumping on board. I mean, let's face it, we've had, 4, 5 Doctors since that time? But it still seems relevant. A great box set, genuinely. Here's the trailer, decide for yourself. Until next time, be seeing you.
I remember the first time I got lost. Shopping centre. You ever seen one of those? Would have seen plenty before. When she finds me, Mum, she just throws down all her shopping and scoops me up. And I still remember what she said. If you're ever lost, my love, just talk to someone. Anyone.
Are you lost right now?
From Big Finish Productions.
Someone on this ship has my dimension cannon. I need to find out who.
Your what? Dimension cannon?
It's my only way off this ship. My only way home.
The Worlds of Doctor Who. Rose Tyler. The Dimension Cannon. Trapped.
What's your name?
Danni.
Danni, I'm Rose.
Rose Tyler.
Yeah.
Nice name.
Lightning eels!
Quick! On the starboard side!
Watch out! No! Don't let it touch you!
Do you know medicine?
I've worked with doctors, yeah. Oh my God. Mum.
I saw you. You arrived in darkness.
Oh, what's wrong? What's happening?
They're coming now, on the water. Too late.
Arrow fire!
It's an ambush! Run!
What's that?
I don't know. The whole earth just
Grounded.
How are you still alive? Ask myself that every day.
Big Finish. For the love of stories.
What's that? Way over there?
The far edge of creation?
Yeah.
It's what you've been looking for. Your friend. The Doctor.
That was the Tin Dog Podcast. Everything discussed is the intellectual property of others. No infringement is intended. For early access to reviews, follow the show on YouTube or Twitter @Tin Dog Podcast. To contact the show, email tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.